Welcome to The Holistic High Achiever. I'm your host, Kaitlin Rohowetz. This podcast is proudly sponsored by A Better Body, my therapeutic massage studio here in Madison, where massage is so much more than just relaxation. At A Better Body, we believe in personalized, empowering care that supports your overall health and wellness, because when you feel better, you do better. As a high achiever myself, I know how easy it is to push your own needs to the side when you're chasing goals and building a business or caring for others. And that's why this podcast exists. For all my fellow high achievers, entrepreneurs, mompreneurs, go-getters who want to thrive in this fast-paced modern world without sacrificing their health and burning themselves out and continuing to put their own health on the back burner. Yes, we talk about health, nutrition, and movement and easy solutions to living healthier, but we also cover topics like goal setting, building habits, and overcoming challenges and limiting beliefs, which can be applied to any area, including health, so that you can thrive holistically. Hello, high achievers. Today is a super exciting episode because I am super happy and ecstatic to announce that this podcast, Holistic High Achiever, has been nominated for Best of Madison. And even more beyond excited because we've been nominated alongside A Better Body for Best Spa. So Holistic High Achiever is nominated for the Best Local Podcast, and then A Better Body Massage Therapy is nominated for Best Spa. So we really, really thank you first and foremost to everyone who listens and everyone who nominated us. So June is the final voting phase. So the people who have made it to the top 6 businesses can be voted, and you can only vote once in the month of June per category. And then the top 3 will win Best of Madison, gold, silver, and bronze. So quick shameless plug that if you care to support on another level, we would love and appreciate that vote for Best of Madison. Okay, on to the next. Today we're going to talk about self-sabotage. Let's be real. We live in a world where being busy is like a badge of honor, that stress is just such a normal part of many people's everyday lives. And a lot of people, especially moms, are praised for doing it all. And eventually, when we've had enough of putting ourselves last, we finally make this decision like, I'm going to put myself first, or I'm going to start working out again, or I'm going to lose that 10 pounds, or I'm going to start doing more self-care. And then we do really, really well for a little while, because we either make a New Year's resolution or we found some recent motivation from something like a podcast, maybe this podcast, and we go all in and we do really well for a little while, maybe a little bit more while. But inevitably, then what happens? You might stop following through. And why is that? Why do we keep setting out to lose the same 10 pounds over and over and over? Why do we always seem to revert back to old habits? Why do we self-sabotage? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and I'll get to a few of them. But a big one that I want to point out first and foremost is that humans are creatures of habit. And during times of heightened stress is the most common time for people to go back to old habits. Because you're stressed, so you're in fight or flight. And our brains try to protect us, and our brains realize and recognize what's familiar as safe. To our brains, familiar equals safe. So old habits, even if they're no longer serving us, feel safer during times of stress. That was a big one for me when I was having a hard time during postpartum, remembering to give myself a little bit of grace when I became a new mom. So if you're a new parent or you're going through a really challenging time, first of all, give yourself some grace. But also step back and ask yourself, what is most important right now? Because sometimes when it all feels important, that's actually what's keeping you stressed and in the cycle of self-sabotage. So with my example of becoming a new mom, when I stopped worrying about the million things that weren't getting done, like working out and business building and house chores and on and on and on and on, even though some of those things were definitely important, when I was honest with myself about what was most important right now, which happened to be letting myself heal, everything started to shift. And it's not easy because that meant letting go of a lot of stuff, letting go of what felt normal to me, letting go of comparing to how things used to be, letting go of having big business goals for a while, letting go of trying to lose weight for a while. Because losing weight and being healthy isn't the same thing as taking care of yourself or healing necessarily. But the magical part was when I stopped fighting myself and instead just started taking care of myself the way my body needed to be taken care of in that season, in that time, which at first was just sleep. Like, you've heard me talk about this, like nothing else functions when you're not getting sleep. And then it was physical therapy, and I slowly started having the capacity to add on a little bit more and a little bit more, and slowly got myself less stressed and out of that cycle of self-sabotage by focusing on what was most important and focusing on what I could do instead of what I couldn't or wasn't. And let me tell you, it is magical to let that stress go. It's just such a good feeling to not carry that with you every day anymore. And becoming a parent, moving, breakups, divorces, death of a loved one, health concerns are a few more examples of like major life events, major life stressors that can feed into the cycle of what I'm talking about when you're so stressed that your focus just is forced to shift because the priority changed. And that doesn't mean like you're letting yourself go or you don't care about other things anymore. No. In fact, I'm arguing the opposite. I'm just saying that your expectations will have to change temporarily. Because when you focus on what you can do and what you can commit to within your given circumstances, based on what's important right now, all of a sudden you can celebrate winning and showing up for what you did do rather than the things you didn't have time for. If you're used to going to the gym 3 to 4 days a week, but during this time you decided you could only commit to like 1 or 2, and you follow through, you met your goal. And meeting your goal always feels better than feeling like you failed. So now that I've gone through a couple of those like real big life stressors and examples, I want to talk about the other forms of self-sabotage. I felt like that needed to be like the disclaimer up front for anybody you've heard my story 100 times, but if you're going through something like out of the ordinary, that was the message to you. Now this is the message to the rest of us. When you're not going through crazy times, a crazy life event, and it's just a normal season for you, but you still find yourself self-sabotaging and not being able to commit to your goals. Why? You're going to get a little sneak preview here of some of the things I talk about with my one-on-one clients a lot. So the 3 most common reasons for self-sabotage that I see as a health coach are desiring acceptance. That sounds like, oh, my friend offered me a homemade blueberry pie that I know she worked really hard on and I don't want to decline it and hurt her feelings. Number 2, I've been really good. I deserve a little extra, which sounds like, wow, I followed my diet all week. Now I'm going to eat an entire pint of ice cream because I did good all week. Good. And then number 3, something else always seems more important. Kids come first, work comes first, friends come first, busy schedules full of commitments. There never seems to be enough time to do it all. Now, as I was mentioning those, I want you to think about which one resonated with you the most. I've heard all of them. I've probably done all of them. A lot of the clients that I've worked with over the years have said each and every one of these. And we all might have a little bit of each at some point and in some scenarios, but there's likely one that shows up the most. And in my experience as a health and life coach, Among moms and business owners and the high achievers listening to this podcast, I most commonly hear the something else always seems more important. I hear things like, well, I planned to go work out, but I had my clothes all ready, and then I remembered I didn't get back to this email from a really high priority client. Or I planned to cook, but I got roped into doing carpool. I had to cancel my workout because a friend needed my help with something. It's just been a really busy week, and I had to head straight to work this morning instead of doing my whole morning self-care routine. I could go on, but are any of these sounding familiar? Maybe just slightly different than the words that would come out of your mouth, but in the same wheelhouse? So I want you to think of something that you've really wanted to commit to lately, but you haven't been able to follow through in the way that you've wanted to. Something that's for you and your health and well-being. Not like I want to get my kid into soccer, right? We're talking about you. We're talking about something that's for you and your health and well-being. It might be working out, going for a walk, eating salad more, getting more protein, going to bed on time, doing your morning routine, getting regular massages at a better body. What is it? What is something that you have really wanted to commit to for yourself, for your health and well-being lately that you've been having trouble following through? And then take yourself to that very moment that you make the decision not to do it. Not to go to bed on time, not to go to the workout, not to eat the salad. Take yourself to that moment in your head. You wanted to do it. You likely even had somewhat of a plan to follow through. But there was a moment where you made a decision not to. And when that decision happened, what was that dialogue internally? What was the excuse, the thought process that stopped you? And notice what you chose to prioritize instead. Maybe it was work. Maybe it was kids or housework. Something I hear a lot as a mom, like sticking with the going to bed on time example, is that moms are like, I don't get any me time if I don't stay up late. Right? And so it's not that the excuses aren't valid, but we'll get to that. I'm jumping ahead. We tend to get really, really disappointed in ourselves when we don't follow through. Right? We're like, I didn't go to bed on time again. Why can't I commit to this? But we don't often reflect on that question you just asked yourself. Why can't I commit to this? You don't reflect on it because it doesn't feel good to think about your failures. But bringing light to those moments can be so huge. It can be such a learning opportunity because it can be exactly what you finally need to make the shift and take things to the next level. And as I was talking, you might have noticed, I hope you noticed how I intentionally used the word choose when you chose to do something else, when you chose to prioritize something else, because it was a choice. At the end of the day, you made a decision to do or to not to do something. And rather than having that be a bad thing, use it to your advantage. Because when everything's a choice, it means that you have the power to choose different and then take control of how things play out for yourself in the future by making different choices. But in order to make different choices, it's crucial to understand how your decision process works in the first place. Because again, our brains are wired to avoid pain, to avoid things that don't feel good, that don't feel familiar, and i.e. that don't feel safe because they don't feel familiar. When a baby cries, we immediately go soothe them. When we're hungry, we eat. We avoid discomfort. I literally think my last episode was on embracing discomfort. That's my point, though. We avoid things that are uncomfortable, that hurt, that don't feel good, right? So we don't think about our failures. We don't think about our decision processes that don't serve us. I could give a ton of examples, but I think you're probably getting my point because you're thinking about how this is applying to you. avoiding discomfort can be a really great thing. It's a good survival mechanism, at least. We don't want to get eaten by a bear or a tiger or a lion or any other like wild animal or thing that sounds horrific. But it also shows up a lot in self-sabotage. And I'll explain a little bit. Think about your goals. Whether your goal is to lose weight, do more self-care, whatever it is for you, there's probably a lot of good things that would happen along with reaching that goal. So like I'm going to use weight loss because it's the one I said first. But like if your goal is weight loss, there's a lot of good things that would happen once you lose weight. If your goal is to go to bed on time, there's a lot of good things that would happen if you go to bed on time, right? So think about this for a second. Let's actually go down this rabbit hole real quickly. Not the whole rabbit hole, just like peek in a little bit. What are those good things? When you accomplish your goal, what good things will happen? And why is that goal so important to you? We're not actually doing a one-on-one session here, so you get to be super honest with yourself. And like I actually encourage you to pause this episode or come back to it at a time that you can really sit with these questions. On top of that, once you achieve your goal, what else will you gain? And who else would be positively impacted when you achieve your goal? We're kind of flipping the script here, right? All of a sudden you're feeling like all warm and butterflies inside because you're like, oh, that feels good to think about. I'll think about this more. These are all the positive things, the good reasons for getting what we want. And they're super, super important to zero in on so that you have a target that you're shooting for. The motivation to follow through on the days that you don't always feel like it. We all have those days. But more importantly, because we can't all be motivated 100% of the time. I'm not motivated 100% of the time. But if you're the type of person who sees a pattern in your self-sabotaging, there's something there. And there are usually then what I call quote unquote bad reasons for getting what you want. And some of you might have just had the thought, like, what the F are you talking about? How are there bad reasons for getting to my goals? I was just in this like warm, fuzzy place that felt amazing and how all these people, it's going to feel great and these people are going to be positively impacted. So let me explain. Anytime you change, it opens up space for new things and it makes less space for others. So I'm going to give you a couple examples so we can get on the same page. But first and foremost, if I lose weight, I won't get to eat all that yummy junk food I love so much. If I lose too much weight, I'll have to spend money on a whole new wardrobe. And although I like new clothes, I don't have the budget for that. If I take time for self-care, it'll take away from the people I love, my family, my friends. If I lose weight, I won't be able to keep it off. It'll be too hard to maintain. If I'm more confident, it'll make my spouse jealous or insecure. I'm afraid of criticism from my friends and family. I think I'm going to pause on that one for a second because I feel like we've all, even if you haven't been the subject of those comments, we have all heard those comments. Oh, they're like a completely different person now. You don't eat cake? Who doesn't eat cake? Like, are you serious? We hear those things. And then we think about how that might apply to us. And what will happen? What will my friends think of me if I'm all of a sudden healthy? That maybe they'll make fun of me. Or if I'm all of a sudden going for business goals, right? It doesn't have to be weight loss, but that's the point. Like, what will my friends think of me if I start a business? You can literally apply, if I start a business, what if I fail? Right? Like all these weight loss things also apply to career, relationship. What if I ask this person on a date and they say no? The fear of failure, right? Fear of criticism. I'm worried that it'll be too time consuming and hard. And another way to say what I already just said, but if I try, I might fail. More often than not, when you're not reaching your goals and you recognize that pattern in your self-sabotage, it's because there's a subconscious fear that you will lose something that won't feel good to you, either during or after the process of reaching your goals. And like I said before, some of these are real valid. But it's also a strategy that your brain has choreographed to make sure that you stay the same. Because what did I say? You guys are all going to be saying it. Familiar equals safe. Our brains don't like change. So thank your brain for trying to keep you safe. That's all it's trying to do. Trying to make you feel comfortable and safe, because it feels good to be comfortable and safe. But also recognize now what's happening. Now that you've seen this, you're not going to be able to unsee it. And you can begin to reframe it for yourself. If you picture yourself in the coming weeks in a similar situation that when I asked you in the beginning about follow through, something you weren't following through with, but tempted, you want to do, but you were tempted not to. What needs to be in place for inevitable success? And again, if you don't have the time now, please come back to this episode and answer that question honestly. Because sometimes it's simpler than you're making it. And I want you to just quickly imagine how it will feel to finally break through that plateau and follow through. To be the person who does what you set out to do. The person you are, but fear and self-sabotage is stopping you. I hope you're smiling. I'm smiling for you. I don't even know what your goals are, and I'm excited for you. It should feel great. More than great. It should feel like no joke. I'm like emotional right now because it's next level. It's breaking through that glass ceiling you've had for yourself. It's not losing the same 10 pounds over and over again. It's losing 15. It's letting go of the fear and judgment of others and like doing the thing you want to do, that you know you're meant to do because that's why it's been there so long. And here's, one other piece I want to leave you with. So many people quit when they start to get overwhelmed, when it starts to feel hard and they're starting to feel like a failure. But I promise you, in that moment, that's where your breakthrough is coming. Setbacks are not failures. If you didn't do it perfectly, you still grew. They're learning opportunities. And also, you're not a fucking quitter. I believe in you, and I know you're 100% capable of reaching your goals. And I hope you do. I also know that you are a lot more likely to reach your goals and also get to them faster when you have support and accountability. Friends are great. Friends also often have their own stuff, their own blocks, their own self-sabotage, their own agenda that can throw you off because it's like, oh, my friend didn't go to workout class, I'm not going either. Oh, my friend's having cake, I'm going to have cake too, right? So if this episode spoke to you because you find yourself not following through or not following through long-term and there's a pattern there, setting the same goals over and over and not attaining them, and you're ready to break through that glass ceiling, you're ready to level up. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you've likely had some successes. But I'm talking to the person who wants to break through to that next level of success, whether it's health, whether it's life, whether it's business. If that's you, please send me a DM so I can help you soar. Okay, and last but not least, friends, I'm going to do one more shameless plug to remind you because we just went through a whole lot of stuff. I'm so excited that Holistic High Achiever is nominated for Best of Madison, and I really hope you'll take a second to vote. We are going to put the link in the show notes, the description. If you follow me on social media, I'll be posting about it. While you're in the voting, also vote for a better body. We super, super appreciate your support and supporting local small businesses as well. Thank you so much for being here with us today on the Holistic High Achiever. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired and ready to take on the world one healthy step at a time. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps so much. And if you're anything like me, you probably thought of someone else listening to this that would resonate with it. So please share it with them, because who can't use a little extra motivation? Until next time, friends, keep embracing your journey and kicking ass.